Hi there, everybody. I'm Robin Retallick of the Law of Attraction Club, and each week we have a short summary hangout on air, which is this one, and he presents the theme for the coming week, and we have 3 different people channeling on that theme. This week's theme is all about how your reality is actually virtual. It's really something that you're creating inside. It's an inside job. We're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about how you can actually get in and change your reality, how you can more easily step into that place of peace and power, of fun and freedom. So, here's Tara. How do you create what you want? Let's begin here with a little understanding. Apart from the absolutes, as we call them, everything in your experience is there and only there because you choose to believe certain things about you and your world. You're in a virtual reality that you're creating moment by moment. It's all an inside job. There is nobody else and no thing else that makes any decisions about any of it. There were no pre-existing conditions to it, and there's nothing sustaining it as it is except your expectations of it. Now let's recognize that choices are not permanent. You can choose and re-choose anything at any time. You can manifest whatever it is that you want by choosing to believe that it's possible, then probable, then certain. That's the simple truth of it. Why then does it seem so difficult to make these new choices? Well, as we get into this, we'll be using examples from the current version of this one's world. Your world is probably similar, but in any case, it's the principles we are discussing, and they will apply in your world, whatever it looks like. Firstly, those beliefs you've already chosen are self-sustaining. Your senses tell you day in and day out that those choices were the right ones, because by law of attraction, the world around you and the people in it are always going to be a perfect match to those choices. And pretty soon you've forgotten they were choices at all. They've just become the everyday facts of life. Secondly, you have a wonderful subconscious mind that is vastly more powerful than your conscious mind. And your subconscious is locked into an operating partnership with your expectations, your expectation tapestry. This is designed to support you in that world of yours, and it does that extremely well. You simply couldn't function without it. The problem is that your subconscious knows of no possibilities beyond what you've taught it. It's operating purely from habit, and yet it's making almost all of your decisions. Unless you intervene in those trains of thought, unless you make alternate choices about how you react to things around you, the status quo prevails. So the key to all of this is intervention. It's consciously making different choices, and you can do that at any time. But once again, your habit is not to. You've taught your subconscious to make all your decisions, including decisions about when you need to get consciously involved. You've taught it to pass control back to the boss, which is you and your conscious mind, only when this particular thing or that particular thing happens. Perhaps when the fire alarm goes off or the baby makes a noise. Otherwise, carry on, and carry on it does. To make changes, to interrupt that status quo, you need to have your subconscious understand that you want to be involved in a whole lot more decisions than you have in the past. You need to reset some of those priority interrupt switches. And here's the good news part of the story. As you start intervening, as you start choosing to react by choice instead of by habit, you're teaching your subconscious a new set of habits. What that means is you're changing that hugely powerful part of you from opposing change to helping you change. And that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. In very matter-of-fact terms, it is the essence of moving from apprenticeship to mastery. So let's practice a little intervention exercise right now. Let's do some new style thinking. You have 5 senses. Spend a little time here and now just being aware of the deluge of information you're receiving. Even without moving your head, what can you see ahead of you and peripherally? What can you hear? What can you feel? Your shoes, your clothes, the breath in your nostrils. Now, if you think about how little of that you were aware of until you made it conscious, you'll see just how much your subconscious handles without you knowing. Now turn your head from side to side and up and down and notice how your field of vision changes. Think about watching television or being in a movie theater. Even with three-dimensional imaging, when you turn your head like that, you turn away from the screen. And movie maker techniques like switching scenes and camera angles and panning and close-ups are not how you see your world. You're not conscious of this, but these are the cues your subconscious uses to determine that what's on the screen isn't real. And remember, most of your information processing is subconscious. Next, imagine that you're wearing on your head something that puts you into the scene. You are completely surrounded by intensely realistic three-dimensional sound and imaging. As you move your head, you are simply changing your field of vision of the same scene, even if you turn completely around. Now your subconscious is telling you something completely different. You might say, so what? But that difference is profound. Rather than, as with a movie, having to suspend disbelief, now you have to consciously override it to process the experience as something different. You have to keep reminding yourself not to believe it. Viewers say that they remember the experience, not as something that they saw, but as something much more like a place and time they were actually in. And as your technology improves, these virtual realities will keep improving, and it will become harder and harder to remind yourself not to believe it. And the experiences will become more and more remembered, like a time and place that happened. And here's where we're going with this. And we want you to really think about this. Your so-called real world is in fact exactly equivalent. Your real world is also in every sense a virtual reality. So if you have one of those experiences described above, then you will actually be in a virtual reality within a virtual reality. The big difference between these two is the technology used. One comes from a headset, a man-made apparatus. The one called your life on Earth is created by the law of attraction. What you choose to believe creates you and your context, your world. Your experiences are real, but the world in which you are having them is very much a virtual reality. It is a powerfully accurate metaphor. Now, the important thing we've been doing here for a short time is encouraging you to see things differently. We now urge you to get beyond that was interesting and forgetting about it. Every time you challenge the status quo, you make a difference in that subconscious programming of yours. And every time you make a difference, you make the next difference a little easier, because more and more you're converting a powerful opponent of change into a powerful ally. That's why we often say, the better it gets, the better it gets. The journey to where you want to go is made of small steps, just like this. In our calls this week, we will expand on this. And next week, we will talk more about what's in that virtual reality of yours. Until then, remember that you can change your reality because it's virtual. Mastery can be yours. Begin intervening now. Take those small steps as often as it feels good to do so. We, of course, are always with you on this journey. and we are here to answer your questions. You have but to ask. Okay, so that's the theme for the week. There'll be some links here on the screen if you'd like to get engaged with us more. And certainly you're welcome to come to our open calls each week. Come along, bring your questions, we'll answer them. We look forward to having you join us. Come on, let's have some fun together. Thanks.